Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I am Prachi Kuchia, Events Marketing Manager here at AirMeet, and your host for today's session. First of all, I would just like to start with a thank you for joining us live. And as today's session is a part of AirMeet's Expert Lounge series, where we bring top minds and hands-on practitioners together to share their tactical knowledge, experience, and some bold new thinking ideas around how teams learn, engage, and grow. And in today's session, it's all about leveling up your virtual trainings. Because let's face it, and let's be honest, most sessions still fall flat. Learners are distracted, multitasking, and are just bored. So we all know that in 2025, that's not an option that we have when we host any virtual trainings. And according to one of the new L&D benchmarks that I read, organizations using intentional virtual learning designs are seeing almost 45% lift in the learner's satisfaction and up to 30% higher retention. So we would obviously love to know what is working, what is next. And that's exactly we are going to unpack in today's session with our speaker, Karyn. Before we move ahead, just give me a moment and I will bring Karyn on screen for all of us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Karyn.
Welcome. Hi. Thanks so much for that great introduction, Prachi. I'm just going to get my slides going here. So just give me one moment while I do
Karyn,
that.
before we
And
move,
I,
Karyn, before we move
oh,
ahead,
I'm sorry. Go
uh,
ahead.
yeah. So I just had a couple of things that I wanted to share with my audience before we move ahead. So a few lines about Karen that she brings 20 years of experience into designing, producing, and elevating learning, both virtual and in-person events. And she's certified digital event strategist, a hybrid and virtual event director, and holds an advanced event designer strategy certificate. So there's a lot to talk about Karen, and I will leave up to her to share when she starts her presentation. But before we move ahead, in today's session, we'll dive into a 20 to 25 minutes presentation from Karen that on strategies that drive real results, and then we'll open the floor for live Q&A. So if something sparks your interest, drop your question in the chat anytime, and we're going to definitely try to take all the questions that we have after the presentation. And quick housekeeping rules that we are recording it in case you miss out anything. We'll be sending the on demand recording. And we would love to hear from you during the session through the polls, chats, emojis that we have. So if you have anything, do let us know in the chat, and Karen and I would love to pick it up. And before we move ahead, Karen, I did share with you we do have a poll we discussed. So I'm just gonna pull up the poll for everyone so that we have a good start for the event. Everyone, please help us with the poll. On the right side of your screen, you will see a poll option and you can go in and just vote there. I will hide the poll for now, Karen, and keep it open for next 5 minutes, and then we can just see the final results later.
Okay, that sounds great.
So over to you, Karen, to start with your presentation.
All right, will do. So I'm going to just get my slides up here. Sorry for jumping the gun on there. I guess I'm just too excited to share all of this with you. So I hope you're excited too. I'm going to be talking about 3 strategies for designing virtual learning that truly engages. So Prachi's got a few polls that she's going to launch for you while I'm just talking a little bit in introducing myself and why I came up with this framework and how I came up with it. So I've been in technology for literally decades. I was a project manager, business analyst, instructional designer, and trainer for a custom software development firm. and I've spent time in K-12 designing and creating curriculum as well as teaching online for those students. And I have managed a curriculum provider's online curriculum for K-12, where we delivered nearly 50 online classes a week with just about as many instructors. I'm currently an online events program and production manager, as Prachi mentioned, and we have I have had a part in creating, designing, or managing literally thousands of online sessions. So I have seen all kinds of sessions. And from those sessions, I've developed this method that I call the Ask Them framework or Ask Them method. So, what is the first strategy that I'm going to share with you? The first strategy is ask them to participate. Now, how did I get you to participate? I want you to know that I did that in a couple of different ways. So, first and foremost, uh, you saw the description for this event. You went, that sounds interesting. So, that's me asking you to join me. You said yes. You then registered and said, yeah, I'm going to join you. And you registered for the session. And then again, you also attend live here, or maybe you're watching the recording. So, you are participating in that way. So I've asked you to participate by creating the description, and it has to be very compelling. And this is very critical. You must have compelling content for your descriptions, and it should be clear and concise and compelling, the 3 C's. If you have content that way, that would be something to entice people to come. So, what I want to ask you right now is, why are you here? You read the description, you registered, you're here. What are you hoping to take away from this session? What I'd like you to put in chat is exactly that. What are your expectations? What do you think you're going to learn? Are you going to be able to put this into practice? So the polls, I don't see the polls, Prachi. So I'm going to go ahead and show this poll on stage. So at the beginning here, I want to ask you a simple question. Are you going to actively participate in this live session? By that, I mean ask questions, focus on the presentation, not multitask, not try and read your email or create that new course or think about something else, but really focus on the presentation. So let's see what our response is. There's not a lot of people responding, but that's okay. So we'll go ahead and go to the next poll, which is, I would like to show this poll on stage, which is, oh, not that one. There we go. This one. Are you willing to share, reflect, and think about the session after it ends? So one thing that we do sometimes when we're in a session is that we're there only for that time period. We don't think about it afterwards. And the point of getting good training, and the point of good instructional design is that it sticks with you and it creates a behavior in your change in your behavior and allows you to do something new. And so by thinking about it and reflecting on it later after the session is very helpful. All right. And then our last poll is this one. I want to find out at the beginning. I've already started with, I'm going to talk about the framework. We're going to ask you to participate, but do you think you're going to learn something that you can apply to your instructional practice? And maybe you don't, maybe you will, maybe you're hoping you do. You read the description, it seemed pretty compelling. So there we go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and hide the polls from the stage. So lots of emoji hearts, thank you. So that is my modeling of the framework for you. I have asked you to participate 3 different times before we got in the session. And then I asked you to participate with those polls. Now, sometimes when I've either facilitated or produced sessions, just that quick ask of the question at the beginning of the session wakes people up and they go, oh, yeah, I should really focus on it. And they're looking for me to focus on it. It's a psychology, it's the psychological effect of asking someone to do something. If they know you're asking them, that's an immediate response for them or an immediate reaction for them to respond to you. So that is a mechanism to get them to participate. Now, the next thing is after you have asked them to participate, and after you have gained their participation in one way or another, are they ready and willing to learn? And what do I mean by that? I want to ask you in chat, what do you think I mean by ready and willing to learn? And these open-ended questions are something that people can respond to in chat. And what I have found in different sessions is that when you respond to the questions in chat, then everyone goes, oh, look, the chat's moving. You see it out of the corner of your eye, you see a response, and you immediately go, oh, Eric is focused. Yeah, ready and willing to learn. Exactly. Is to have their focus, to have them involved, and to have them a part of the session. All right, so now before you start your session, you want to know if your learners are primed, ready, and willing. But you need to know who your learners are and where they are. So let's take a pulse check and figure out where your learners are. And here's something, it's going to be silly, but here it is. I want you to describe your learners. So here we have cats. They're not cat videos, but it'll have to do. So we have these cats and they have numbers by them and you can look at them. The first row, raring to go. These people, they want to learn. They're ready to go. They're really jazzed up. Second group, ooh, shiny toys, which means they think, oh, I'm going to learn something new. This is exciting. And the third, lapping up the learning. Those are the people you don't have to worry about. They are lifelong learners. They love to learn anything and everything. Now, the bottom row, number 4, I want to hide. Unfortunately, they have their cameras off. If you have a situation where you're sharing, they have their cameras off. There's no chat. They're disengaged. They really don't want to be there. The fifth one, I surrender. They're like, okay, fine. I have to be here. I'm here. And they're not happy about it. So their mindset is negative, unfortunately. And then number 6, they're sleeping. They're not paying attention. They're not typing in chat. They're not doing anything. What I want you to do, put in the number of the majority of your learners in chat. So is it 1, raring to go, 2, shiny toys, 3, lapping up the learning, 4, I want to hide, 5, I surrender, or 6, I can't be bothered. So what do we have? Please type in chat where your learners are. And it's possible you could have your learners in all 6 of these boxes. 2 and 1. Oh, you are special. That is wonderful if you've got people who are really interested in the learning. And unfortunately, we get the bottom row a lot of times when we're doing compliance training or that mandatory training. It can be difficult, but the thing that we want them to do is obviously ask them to participate. So I'm getting a few 3s and 4s. We got some good people going on here. Not too many in the bottom row, just a little bit, which is great. So we want to take your learners, ask them to participate, that first strategy that I was talking about. When I say participate, it means their attention is on the screen because we're in an online environment, and the chat and the Q&A. And if you have any Q&A, please drop them over in that Q&A pod. We'll be getting to those that later in the session. So these people are ready to learn. They want to ask questions. They want to focus on the presentation. They don't want to multitask, and they want to take notes. So asking them to participate and getting their agreement to participate, getting them to respond to you, getting them to actually say, yeah, I'm going to focus on it. That is part of Malcolm Knowles' adult learning theory. So this ask them strategy is actually touching upon the theory of readiness and self-direction in that adult learning theory by Malcolm Knowles. Because we know adult learners, they want to be self-directed. They want to know what I'm supposed to do and why it's important. And so we need to give them those. I asked you a blank question. Are you going to participate? I got a few responses, not a lot. I don't know how many people are in the room, but hopefully you will actively participate. It's simple, direct, and concise. This question creates a psychological state of disharmony if they answer no, because they're here and they are supposed to participate. So if they answer no, that creates that psychological dissonance. And people don't really like to be contrary. And so people will then think that they want to participate and establish a connection with the facilitator or the instructor because they've been asked. All right, so we'll move on to the next we've skipped one, sorry. Okay, so now, once you get their active participation, are they willing to invest time and cognition? In other words, they want to give you're going to give them a motivation for being in this session. That will give them the ability to invest time and cognition, right? So you need to figure out, can they invest the time in the cognition? Are they going to think about it? I gave you a motivation by asking you and implying you will learn something by asking you the poll question. Do you think you will learn something if you can apply to your instructional practice? I asked you that question because now you thought about it, you had to read it, you thought about it, and you went, am I going to learn anything? I don't know. I think so. The description told me so, that participation piece. And now, since I've asked that question, I've primed your brain to think about, what am I going to learn? So now your brain is in a mode of, I'm going to learn. And so you've set that up by asking that question. And so I asked you to think, will I learn something that will be valuable? So maybe you think back to the description and you go, yeah, I wanted to learn this. Or maybe your own thought process when you register, I'm going to register this and learn it. So let me know in chat that what you are willing to invest the time and the cognition, and if you're ready for that. So just answer yes or no in chat. So now that this question is in your brain, are you going to learn something? Your brain will subconsciously be on the lookout for items to assist you in your quest to learn something. It's just getting things ready for the brain. The learning science is basically asking right questions, giving you the right context. So now we need to tell our learners what's in it for them. So I'm back to our cats. Top row, ready and willing to learn. Bottom row, problem children. So if you haven't already, you should use learner personas. And it's out of the scope of this session, but learner personas you can go and Google it, and there's all kinds of resources, I'm sure, online to figure out what makes your learners tick. What is there with them? What's in it for me? What are they going to get? It's very important to effectively and clearly communicate the value of the material you're presenting. You need to be clear as to why they need this training. We have to take this compliance training. You get your number 5 there. I don't want to be here. But if you tell them, yeah, you're going to take this compliance training, and you know what? You're going to save a life, or you're going to have a situation where no accidents will happen, or we're going to mitigate the accidents as much as possible. You're going to learn a new skill that will increase your chances for a promotion, or maybe additional benefits, or maybe something that will allow them to move up in the company or move sideways in the company, but you're going to give them something that's meaningful to them. Generally speaking, training provides certain information that's useful to a person's job or promotes a behavioral change that's needed within the organization or gives a person an opportunity to grow their skill set. So you need to give them the why of your training. And if Simon Sinek, the why is the most important thing. So that is what I'm hoping I am giving you. The why for you is that you're going to look at this and think about participation. You're going to think about the next thing after your learners. So let me see. I had some more things, but oh, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about your learners here. So we know the top row is ready to learn. The bottom row, how do you get into them? I talk about learner personas. But number 4, they want to hide. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be on camera. Why? Why is that? There are certain social and psychological conditions that may be the reason why they don't want to be on camera. And so you have to be respectful of that. But if you need to know that, and that's part of your learner persona, in which case, if you know you have a group of introverts, then you're going to be like, okay, we're not going to do any camera activity. We're going to do other things that introverts will like to do. So that's why you have to think, are they too shy? Are they self-conscious? What's going on there? So a facilitator I work with, this is how he says it. He says, please turn your camera on so I can see your lovely faces. That way I don't have to look at my ugly mug all the time. He makes a joke out of it and it's self-deprecating, but you can see he's made a connection with the audience. He thinks, he's like, hey, I'm ugly, you can turn your camera on. That should hopefully give people a little less self-conscious about turning their camera on. You can also just say, hey, please turn your camera on. It's really helpful to see people and connect with them. It's really difficult in an online environment if you don't see someone's camera, in my opinion. Although there are facilitators who are totally off camera because they're totally focused on the presentation, and that's totally appropriate. So, whatever content you're providing, you need to determine where the focus should be. Now, obviously, I'm splitting your focus because you're looking at my screen, you're looking at me, you're looking in the chat. But the thing is, by giving you all kinds of different things to look at and interact with, hopefully that's going to engage you. Yeah, I want to type something. Oh, yeah, that's a cute picture. Or I have a question. So now you're engaged in that way. Now I'm going to move on to our next strategy. Somehow I am advancing these too fast. There we go. So now I've asked you to think. That's the next strategy. Ask them to think. They're not there to be sponges. They're just sit there and absorb it all. They're there to think about what you're saying. They're there to think about, well, if I move that forklift over in the corner, that's a better position for it because it's out of the way. And that was presented in the training. You need to get them to think about what the content is. And that's what I'm doing in this session. I'm trying to get you to think about how to put this method into practice, how to take your learners to that next step. I gave you the session description with the WIFM, and then I asked you, are you going to actively participate? I asked you those, but that gets you thinking. Now, open-ended questions get people thinking, and it gets into deeper thinking. And typing an answer in chat helps connect the concept to what you're presenting and to the learner's own thoughts. And the people in chat, obviously, we just have some yeses, but I'm hoping that some of you will add a few other things in there about what we're talking about. Then people will read that because they'll see it out of the corner of their eye. Oh, let me see. What is Chanel talking about? Oh, Chanel says yes, but what else? Oh, look, Chanel said that. Oh, that's really interesting. I have to respond to Chanel. So that's where that interaction, it's not just with the facilitator and the learner, it's with the learners themselves as well. So by asking them to think and asking them to type in chat with open-ended questions, you're getting them to do that. Let's see here. And so it helps solidify the experience. And by asking them to think, I do have some strategies as well as what you can do. Now, obviously, in this short session and in this environment, we can't do most of these here. However, when you're doing your own training and you're working on a workshop and you have an online workshop that's 2 hours or training that's 2 hours, you can do this. So think pair share. That is a K-12 kind of method. It has been used in adult. I like using it in adult trainings because it's very helpful. You present the question, you get them to think about it, you put people together, and then they share their answers. It's a little more intimate. You can put them in a breakout room or here in AirMeet, not necessarily in the webinar version, but the virtual event version that I use all the time for my online conferences. It's not to be pluggy or an ad here, but I very much like AirMeet because it tries to replicate that in-person experience as best you can online. So what we do is that we have the lounge feature, which has a bunch of tables, and everyone can go to the lounge, go to a table, and share and reflect and think. And it's lovely because we have different sessions during the day. We have 4 or 5 sessions during a day, and we have a little break between where we give people that opportunity to go into a table in the lounge in AirMeet where you can share your camera, share a document or anything, and your microphone, and you can be with those people. There's the other ones there. You'll probably get a copy of these slides, but all those things will help people to think. Now we've got them to think, right? And we've got active strategies to think critically. And now, how do you get them to remember? So they're ready and willing to participate, and they have been asked to participate. They're now thinking about things. You've got to ask them to remember. And that's how you make the learning sticky. And that's how you make the learning sticky. So making the learning sticky, by that I mean retaining it, is obviously by making them ask them to remember. All right, so experiences and activities help people to remember. So I'm asking you to type in chat. You're looking at my slides. Maybe you remember this silly graphic here and oh, there's a brain and oh yeah, that was remembering. So I'm giving you graphics. I'm giving you visual cues to maybe that you'll see in your brain when you're thinking about the presentation. Now, because it's such a short session, I would have had a lot of other interactive things for a training or a workshop, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're doing here. So it can be a difficult situation to turn to your table mate as you're in a face-to-face situation. So here, our chat is our table. Our chat is where we're going to say, hey, I think I can use that in my session next week. Or those kinds of side conversations that you see in face-to-face events, you can have online as long as you get that chat going. That's how we get people to remember. And I have strategies here. So one of the things that if you're all instructional designers or L&D professionals, you know about the forgetting curve, right? Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve. So I didn't put a graph in here, but basically you remember and then you remember less and less as the time goes on. So what do you do to combat the forgetting curve? You do spaced repetition. So let's say this was a mandatory training. I needed you to know all 3 of the ask them methods that we're talking about. I would then follow up, say Friday, and ask you, what are those 3 methods? And then on Monday, maybe I'd say, and how do we implement them? Or what does that mean to you? Because what I'm going to do, the post-event follow-ups are very important. And so you have those event follow-ups that you do with people to make sure the spaced repetition is here and that there is quizzes, peer teaching, manuals that you use in the live session. Let's say you create a participant manual, you cover a concept. There is an activity in the participant manual. You have people actually in the workshop go, okay, take 5 minutes, go answer that question. And then you have silence for 5 minutes in your workshop and they're completing the manual. And then you tell them, now go back to your manual and read about what we talked about. And I think I'm coming close to time, so I'm going to move on, and that should come to the end. Here is our graphic, all three of the strategies to the Ask Them method. This is something I'm developing. I am going to add on to this, and I hope I can take you with me in this. So I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's a QR code, and there's that because I'm going to be talking about the Ask Them method and on LinkedIn in articles as I move forward. This is the first time I've really talked publicly about this. So I'm so excited. And that ends my session. I am ready for your questions.
Amazing presentation, Karen. I would just say thank you so much. That was packed with insights, so many practical ideas. And I really love the way that you had those cats there to involve the people there. And to be really honest, I do see a lot of attendees in the session. I did share with you in the chat, but I thought you might be busy with the slides and everything. But comparatively, people did not respond that much. But saying that to all the attendees who are still here, we are now going to open up for your questions. I know it was a great presentation. So drop your questions in the Q&A panel. We already have a couple of them. And don't be shy. Ask about what we covered today, what works. If you want to know Karen's experiences, any learnings, any specific situations or anything, feel free to jump in. And let's just move Karen to the first question before, if you have anything else to add before
No,
we do.
that's all I have. It's just short and sweet. So I see the first question. Usually I have only 30 minutes for a virtual session. Where are 2 to 3 things I must include to make it great? All right. It's not a lot of time, just like about the amount of time I've had here. Pre-work or that, however you engage them at the beginning before the live session, your compelling statements, your what's in it for them, giving them the why, telling them they're going to save lives or they're going to learn a new skill that'll put them on that promotion track. That's what you're going, that's beforehand. During the session, energy. I'm sitting in my chair trying to keep myself sitting in this box because I really want to jump up and down. And as you can see, I talk with my hands and I know online that's not the greatest. However, that's how I communicate. That's how I express my excitement. And I hope I've expressed my excitement to you. But if you're excited about the training, they'll be excited about the training, even if it's learning to park that forklift in the corner. Okay, so next question, how to push my team to engage cognitively in the training. I would look at those strategies I gave you. So in your follow-up, if you mean during the session, you've got to give them time to think. They know I've got to be in this training for an hour. So if you want them to think about it and you don't think they're going to be thinking about it right after the session, make them think in the session. Actually give them that 5 minute space. We didn't have that here, or I would have. A lot of times you create a manual, you create activities within the manual that you do one in your session, but they have 2 or 3 others that may connect to the concept. And then they are able to go back, and that's part of the space repetition if you do it that way. So that, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Oh, great. That depends, because here's the thing is that you will get some introverts and you will get people who, if they don't know if they're expected to be on stage and expected to participate with via camera and via mic, you're good. You can ask them to come on, and that's really important. But if you say, hey, we're going to do a training next Monday for an hour at 2 p.m., be there, and they show up, and then you go, hey, Prachi, come on stage and with me. And Prachi might be like, I'm having a bad hair day. I sorry, I'm discombobulated. I'm really tired, whatever. So you have to set that expectation that they'll be on camera or they might be on camera, because I have seen things where all of a sudden, if they don't have that expectation and you say, now we're going to go into breakouts, all of a sudden 20% or 30% or even half drop because they're like, I don't want to do that. So you need to set that expectation that it's engaging. They are part of it. You're there to help them learn this material. You're not there to learn it for them. And they have to be participatory in order for them to do that. All right. Any more questions, Prachi?
Yes, we have a few more.
Okay. A big budget or fancy tools? Okay, so asking questions, seriously, just if you're doing the online training like this, you got a poll question. If you don't have poll capabilities to what you're using, ask an open-ended question. Getting those questions in front of your people, that would be the simplest free thing that I can think of. Then, you know what you can do? Think about the training yourself. Maybe you created the training, maybe you're just facilitating the training. Look at it from the participant viewpoint and go, what questions would I have? And then ask that question. That would be my answer.
Moving ahead to the next question.
Okay, so AI. I didn't even touch on AI, as you saw. And actually, all of my presentation is not AI. It's all out of here because this is my AI, my learned experience, my decades of experience in the online environment, in instructional design, in training, in education. AI can be very helpful, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I do use AI as a brainstorm tool. If I'm just sitting there trying to create something and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I was like, and then I got bored. I'll be honest. I was like, what am I going to give them as a visual? What am I going to do? And I went, I need a break. Go to YouTube Shorts. Guess what? Cat videos came up. And I went, oh, I'm going to do something with cats in my presentation. That's not necessarily AI, but you could have asked that question to AI. Think of it as a thought partner or a junior instructional designer or somebody you want to bounce ideas off of. There's so much going on. Running virtual training, I'm not exactly sure how AI would fit into this situation unless you were to get an avatar of me presenting instead of me live. So I have to think about that one, but that's my answer to that. I hope that's satisfactory because honestly, just the creation of the training is pretty much where I would use AI for right now. All right, other questions? Oh, okay. So by cognitive training, think you mean by training that makes them think. So you have another objective to your training other than just thinking, unless that's your getting them to think critically. That could be a training. But what you're going to see is the results afterwards. Generally speaking, instruction is to change your behavior, give you some information that then you take that behavior or that information and you do something with it. So what you're going to see is afterwards, they're going to do something with it. You're going to see that forklift in the corner all the time. Now, maybe you're not on the shop floor, obviously, but it's going to come trickle back to you. Gee, everyone's parking it in the corner. Isn't that interesting? So you're going to see the proof is in the pudding later on. And you, as an instructional designer or facilitator, may not even see that. But the people who ask for the training, your stakeholders, will hopefully give you that feedback. So I hope that
Thank you, Karyn.
answers. Yeah.
I hope so it does. Moving ahead to the next question that we have from Sana.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. This is a story I share all the time. I swear I'm going to write a book with some of my other virtual event producers because the things we've experienced is amazing. I will share this one. So I have a checklist when I do a virtual event, whether it be a webinar or a conference session, and it's from my lived experience. One of those questions I ask is because I prep with my people, and I'll say, "Are you going to be in the same location and the same equipment for your presentation that you are now in this prep?" I asked that question. I had to put it into my process because I prepped with somebody who was doing a webinar. Great audio, great visuals, slides work fine, everything seemed perfect. Come time for the live session, and he gets on the call beforehand, before we open the room, and I said, "Hey, it's a lot louder there. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Are you in a different location?" And he went, "Oh, yeah, it's fine." I went, "I'm not sure. It's really getting noisy." And then I hear, "Now boarding on track 25, train 417." I'm not exaggerating. There was an announcement for a train because he was in Grand Central Station, sitting somewhere thinking he was going to present the webinar from Grand Central Station. His audio was a hot mess. He broke up the internet connection. He was using Grand Central Station's internet connection. So he'd drop off. His audio was terrible. It was breaking up. His slides weren't advancing. It was the longest hour of my virtual event producing life because I could not do a thing technically for him. All I could do was type in chat and say, "We're just having some technical issues. I'm very sorry." That's all I could do. So I learned to ask people, are they going to be in the same location? So that's one story. You'll have to wait for the book for the other ones.
Eric, I cannot agree more. He needs to be trained.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so
All right.
moving ahead to the next question that we have is, I love the presentation. We do regular training sessions in our org every month? Sometimes the audience is same, so any tips to keep them coming back and not getting bored?
Ooh. Okay. Here's something off the top of my head. My presentation, I did cats. All right. So we have cats. And people like, "Oh, those are fun." Next month, do dogs. Following month, do lizards. Following month, do candy. Find something that they're going to be excited about, something you're going to put in your presentation that probably doesn't have anything really to do with the exact content you're trying to train them on, but something that's, "Oh, I wonder what we're going to do today." Or, "I wonder, is it going to be dogs, cats? Is she going to do babies? Maybe redheads? What is it?" So get them thinking about that. That would be if you're dealing with the same group of people doing the same thing or same kinds of training. They'll be like, "Okay, is Karyn there? She's just talking about it." You get them thinking about, "Oh, let's get some expectation in there for something new and shiny." So I hope that's just something off the top of my head. Obviously, the with them, the what's in it for them, the telling them the why, getting that all right, hopefully will bring them back as well. And thanks for the thought about my presentation style. I'm actually reining it in because I'm very excited. I could talk about education for hours and hours, and I know we're at time. More hype than helpful virtual learning trend. That is a really tough question, a very good question, because I don't know, AI has just permeated everything. And I gotta think it's AI. Let's have an avatar present the session. Oh, look, here's training, and here's my avatar reading the script, and here's this. Okay, does that add value? Does the avatar add value, or are you just using the shiny new toy to use the shiny new toy? So I think the trend for me personally, it's just stick to those core instructional design concepts and learn everything. Obviously, keep your learning going. But in terms of a trend, I really don't know how to answer that except AI. All right. I think that's it, Prachi. Or I
We
know
do
we've run
have
out
one
of
last
time.
question.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
great.
yes.
Okay, so how do you get them to participate when they're stuck in sitting there being passive, break the inertia of just sitting and listening? You can only give them opportunities. You can't force anybody to do anything, quite honestly. And in fact, that question, will you participate? I sometimes get no's. And I go, all right, they're adults. They're supposed to be in this training. They're not going to participate. That's not on me, that's on them. So if you want to be that kind, if you get someone who's just, you train, they're in your training every week or every month, and they're just sitting there and their camera's not on, they never type in chat, you don't know what's going on with them, you might want to say, look, I am not doing this for my health. I'm doing this to help you. And I hope you let me help you because I'm giving you information that'll allow you to save lives. I'm giving you information that'll help you move up the corporate ladder. I'm giving you information that will change the behavior so that you can do something new. And if they're not going to be responsive to that, it's hard to break through that inertia, to be quite honest with you. But the learner persona that you create for people might reveal that item that's going to make them go, click, I want to join. So it's outside of the scope, but there's a lot of different methods you can use to try and break that inertia.
This was the last question, but we have Eric who has raised his hand, so we're just gonna bring him on stage for a minute and then we can wrap up today's session.
Okay. Hi,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Hi, Eric.
This was a great presentation, and I appreciate, Karyn, that you were once a K through 12 teacher because I also taught K through 8 technology, and it's very difficult to get students' attentions and things. So one of the tips I wanted to bring up with AirMeet, and also this is something that has been very helpful for us, are the cue cards. Bringing up cue cards because it's sometimes difficult to see the icons. So having that Q&A, and these also make great Christmas cards too as well. We send them out as Christmas cards, but the whole idea of raise hand and having this, and also appreciation, attendee on stage, yay, speaker on stage. They're just wonderful. It engages the audience too as well and really inspires them to participate. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you very much for your K through 12 experience coming through this presentation. I look forward to the book too as well. I'll take this off stage. Thank you so much.
Eric, I love your suggestion. I really do. I'm surprised it's not in my presentation because if you have like a piece of paper, that cue card, that's something that it's an interrupter to your brain because you're used to being, okay, screen, okay, pixels, okay, chat. Oh my gosh, they're showing me a piece of paper. So it's a brain interrupter that gets you focused. I love it. I wish I had put it in my presentation, but we had Eric share it with us. And thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we are just at the end of the time. So thank you so much for being such an engaged audience and so many questions in Q&A. And Karyn, any last lines that you would like to share with our audience before we close today's session?
I don't know. I don't have any last things. I hope you take away. I hope this you find some little nugget to use. That's my purpose is and would make me very happy is you found at least one thing that you can use in your practice. And I hope you all can find that thing and I wish you all luck on your journey and connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any further questions and we can have a conversation.
Karen, one thing I can definitely vouch from my end is that I am definitely going to take a lot of learnings from today's session, how to engage the audience. So definitely great insights, frameworks, and tested strategies that you shared with our audience today. And for all our audience, thank you so much for joining. Just keep an eye on your inbox. We'll send the full recording and some extra resources you can dig into at your own pace. And until then, thank you so much. Stay curious, keep designing experience your learners will always remember. And we would definitely love to see you in the next session that we will have.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.